Craniamon is back, and I'm going to show you guys the ultimate defensive combo that can crumble your opponent's board. Digimon fans, welcome back, and today we'll be showcasing the new Craniamon deck for BT13. The strongest blocker of the Royal Knights is here again to stop all your opponent's attacks. The new Craniamon can force your opponent's Digimon to attack you, but as soon as they do so, you immediately prevent it with your gigantic blockers. This deck also has a ton of different protection effects that helps you counter specific matchups, and like always, I'll be showing you guys how to play this deck with the combo guide right after the deck profile, so let's jump right into it first. Alright, like always, let's begin with Digi-Egg cards. 4 copies of Tumblemon from BT9. This one has the inheritable of opponent's turn. While this Digimon has blocker, it gets extra 1000 DP. We play lots of blockers in this deck, so it's going to have the perfect synergy, and we always want to be seeing this Digi-Egg card. You guys can play a 5th one if you want, and I do have additional suggestions later on, which when we get into it. But however, I think 4 copies is really all we need, just because I prefer the consistency, having the same effect all the time. Just before we continue with the video, I want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for supporting the channel, whether you're part of the Avault Club membership, a subscriber, or even just crossing by this video. I really appreciate the fact that you're taking the time to watch this. There are tons of Digimon content and videos on this channel, and if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell for even more. Also, give this video a like while you're at it, as it really helps. But with that out of the way, let's get back into the deck profile. Then let's move into our rookies, level 3s, 4 copies of the brand new Gotsumon from BT13. First and foremost, it is a blocker, and it has a on deletion effect. If it's your opponent's turn, you get to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, adding 1 black card among them to your hand, placing the rest back to the bottom in any order, which is really good because you can actually add a black card, not even just a Digimon. You can also grab a Tamer and an option, which is going to be really good when you do block during your opponent's turn, gets deleted, and yeah, gives you a little bit of cycling, which is definitely nice. Then we have 4 copies of this Tsunorizamon right here. We have to play this one. This is our offensive strategy. You guys know how much I love security +1. That's the main idea, the whole reason why we play this card, so that all of our black Digimon with 13,000 DP with its inheritable gains security +1, and our top end basically fulfills that very easily without any general DP buffs generally. And also with Tsunorizamon's main effect of your turn, all your black Digimon with 13,000 DP gets piercing. Comes up every now and then, not super necessary, but yeah, definitely a little bit more relevant when it comes to this deck with some of our combos. And yeah, just a really good card that I really like to have as always. Then we got 4 copies of Toyagumon right here, just giving the simple inheritable of Reboot from BT2, just a really good standard card to always have. Reboot gives us the ability to swing attacks, and then we can reboot and have a standing blocker during our opponent's turn. That's what we're trying to go for and look for. There's going to be a lot of this kind of inheritables when it comes to all of our other Digimon cards that we're sort of playing when we're building our stack. Let's move into our level 4s now. 4 copies of the brand new BT13 Gladiemon. It has jamming, and then it also gives the inheritable Reboot. Just a really good card to always have. Like I mentioned earlier, Reboot is great. There's jamming that gives you a little bit of like early chipping combo that you can do, and I'll show you guys how it works later on as well. But yeah, Reboot is what we mainly play it for. Then continuing on with our other level 4s and blockers, 2 copies of Mechainic, just because we can hard drop it for 4 costs, just is really good with a 6k blocker on the board, which can virtually kind of be infinite blocking and unsuspending constantly. And again, really good synergy and combos when it comes to our DP buff effects every now and then, which we'll talk about more later on too. Then we also play 2 copies of Mercurymon right here, just a simple hybrid for game. It has that on play when Digivolving effect, giving one of your Digimon blocker, which is always really nice to have. I think this is like the go-to new black hybrid that you really want to be Digivolving in most cases now, just because of its value effect. And then we also play 2 copies of Sephirothmon right here. Very similar idea with the black hybrid, but this does cost 3. You can Digivolve for 1 on top of Mercurymon. You can kind of do the slide Digivolving combos every now and then. But we mainly play this card so that we can utilize this when Digivolving effect until the end of our opponent's turn. One of our opponent's Digimon gains to start our main phase. This Digimon attacks, so then we can actually block it and then, you know, kind of disrupt their plays a little bit, which is kind of fun and really interesting when it comes to sort of, being defensive as well. That's it for our level 4s. Let's talk about our level 5s here. 4 copies of Gurumon from BT13. This is just the perfect level 5 for the entire deck, just because first and foremost it digivolves for 3 on top of black level 4. It has blocker itself, and it mainly has the opponent's turn once per turn effect of inheritable. When one of your opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. Very, very simple. This gives us the control aspect, control element, and being able to trash security stacks is just always great, and it helps us push a little bit, and we can cripple our opponents a little bit with this kind of effect, so then we can eventually push for game. And that's the main key card that gives us the strategy of playing both offense and defense at the same time with our entire Craniamon deck overall. Really, really important card. Then for more trashing capabilities, we got 2 copies of Metal Tyrannomon, very similar to Gurumon. This one costs 4 to digivolve though, and you don't really get to reduce any digivolve costs for this, so it is quite a lot to pay, but it does have that when digivolving on play effect. For each of your green or black Tamers you have in play, you get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then one of your opponent's suspended Digimon can unsuspend during the opponent's next unsuspend phase. And mainly for its inheritable is that all turns once per turn, when this Digimon deletes opponent's Digimon by battle, you get to trash the top card of your opponent's security stack, again for the offensive side of things, but really has great synergy when it comes to comboing with our blocker capabilities, just because it's inheritable is all turns. So whether if you swing over your opponent's Digimon or whether you force them to attack and you block and delete something, this is always a fantastic card to always have. But just again, 2 copies is really all you need. And that's because to round off our level 5s, I like to play 2 copies of the Jamming Gigadramon from BT11, again with the whole idea of reboot. And this one's the more of the flex spot when it comes to level 5, so you guys can play something else if you have other personal preferences, which we get to talk about more as well later on the other suggestions. But if you guys have any other ideas, go for it as well. That's it for all of our level 5s. Let's move into our main level 6s with our boss Digimons here. 4 copies of the BT13 Craniamon. It does cost 5 to digivolve, but you get a lot of really good effects and a really strong DP Digimon on the board by paying that kind of memory. It has 13k DP, it itself is a blocker, it has on play when digivolving until the end of your opponent's turn. This Digimon isn't affected by the effects of your opponent's Digimon, so you have effect protection. So this particular effect with its protection is actually really good against certain matchups to stop your opponents completely. And yeah, you can basically buy yourself one more turn with this particular card, and it's just really good. Then it also has the last effect of end opponent's turn. Choose one of your opponent's Digimon, your opponent attacks with that chosen Digimon. So the whole combo and the idea is that you choose that Digimon so they can block with this guy, and basically you just remove something on their board just from that effect and this combo overall. Keep in mind guys, this particular effect is optional. I'm not sure why they didn't include the word you may in it, which I think really should have been important, but I believe there should be an errata coming soon. But yeah, let me know and clarify in the comments down below if you guys notice anything regarding to this. But I double checked the last time, and I'm very sure that this is a you may effect, because then otherwise it would be not as good as it really is. And yeah, but anyways, Craniamon, your main boss Digimon that you want to be seeing as often as possible just because it's that good. Then we're also bringing back the OG Craniamon, all the way back from BT3. This one's the secondary boss Digimon I want to get into. A little bit cheaper because it costs 4 to digivolve, but it has only 12,000 DP. Not as strong as compared to the other one, but still it has blocker, and it gives you a really good coverage of all turns effect of protection that your Digimons with blocker can't be deleted by your opponent's effects. And that's actually really good because this covers Digimon effects, this covers options, tamers, and basically anything. And yeah, having that kind of protection is definitely really, really nice. Therefore, running still at least 2 of is what you want to go for. That's it for all of our Digimon. Now let's talk about our Tamers. Memory Tamer, 3 copies, Taikimiya, which I really like to play from the BT2. This one just has a simple effect where opponent's turn, all your black Digimon gets extra 1000 DP. It's also really good playing multiple copies just because you can stack up the effects over and over on top of each other, and you can gain a lot of DP during your opponent's turn. So your blocker and your big top end combos are just really, really powerful, and it's just very difficult for your opponents to sometimes overcome just based on DP alone because of this guy right here. Then moving on, we got another Taikimiya right here, the 2 cost one from the Starter Deck 5 Machine Black. It has opponent's turn. When you use a blocker to suspend one of your own Digimon, you can suspend this Tamer to unsuspend one of your own Digimon as well. So a very cool common combo is it basically lets you block 2 times, and just for the cost of 2 sitting there is actually really, really good. And you do definitely want to see this every now and then when it comes to your combos too, just because of how much power and control it gives you just from that one card alone. Moving on to continue to finish off our Tamers, I'd like to play 2 copies of Izzy and Joe, just because at the start of your turn, if your opponent has 2 or more Digimon, you instantly gain 2 memory. So, it punishes your opponent for going wide, and they're going to have to play around it. Really good against certain decks and certain matchups as well, just because of that. Then the secondary effect is actually not too bad either. When one of your block Digimon is deleted, you can suspend this Tamer to trigger draw 1. And yeah, that's kind of nice to hand it come up. So this is like the final Tamer of the deck that I like to play. That's it for all of our Tamers. Let's talk about our options. 2 copies of the brand new Waltz, and also being Craniamon's brand new signature move right here. For 6 cost, it does a whole lot of things, and it can give you a lot of advantages to, wipe out your opponent's board potentially. With its main effect, until the end of your opponent's turn, one of your own Digimon gains opponent's turn. When this Digimon becomes suspended, delete all your opponent's Digimon with a play cost less than or equal to that Digimon. And opponent's turn, that Digimon isn't affected by your opponent's option cards either. So it gives you a very wide coverage and protection overall. If you can ever combo with Craniamon altogether, you're basically covered from a lot of protection effects for that one single turn, and being able to block and force your opponents to attack at the same time. You can just wipe out everything just because of how strong Craniamon itself is, and its play cost is 13, so you basically delete everything that's like play cost 13 or lower on your opponent's side. And yeah, just a really powerful option. And of course, its security effect deletes one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost if you ever get to activate it. Then for the other OG Craniamon signature move option, 2 copies of Breath of the Gods. Just for 2 costs, it gives you reboot. It also gives you DP reduction protection, and cannot be returned back to the owner's hand or deck until the end of your opponent's next turn. So always a really nice one to have. And with its security effect, it just stops your opponents from attacking players for the turn. And yeah, comes in clutch for sure, and really good defensive card. So you definitely want to be playing these 2 different kind of options for Craniamon to give it the versatility and when it comes to those upper combos. And then last but not least, 3 copies of Black Memory Boost. Very standard, great for searching, great for gaining memory, so you can make more plays. Gaining memory is a little bit more important for this deck just because of how important Craniamon is to get into, and it costs quite a bit of memory, as you guys may know. Therefore, playing a little bit more of these definitely helps out in the course of the game for sure. That's it for the 50 card main deck. Let's talk about all the other cards and suggestions you guys can be including based on your personal preference and choices. There's a lot of different things that you can be adding into this deck to spice it up as well. And first and foremost, let's talk about the 5th Digi-Egg card. If you guys want to play a 5th Digi-Egg card, I would recommend the Craniamon, either the one from BT2 or the one from Starter Deck 5. They just simply both give you your turn extra 1000 DP as long as this Digimon has reboot, the other one as long as it has blocker. So, having a little bit of DP buff during your turn can help every now and then for sure. I mean, DP is DP. Making your stuff stronger is always great. Then moving on some of the generic rookie stuff when it comes to Floodgates, Chikurimon, Chumon to stop memory. Chikurimon is just also really good to prevent your opponents from reducing play cost. It stops yourself as well, but you don't really, reduce play cost in this deck. So, you get more value off of it. And, with a lot of decks in this current BT13 format and meta, a lot of people are running around with, playing stuff with reduced cost. So therefore, it's a really good counter if you definitely want to play this kind of rookie for better control. Another Chikurimon, just a great security bomb, just a D-Digivolve, always really great. Doesn't give you as much value if you ever draw into it or Digivolve into it. Therefore, that's the whole reason why I don't play this particular card. And then for another level 4, if you guys don't like the level 4 lineup, another suggestion could be Clockmon. Very simple with its 2 Digivolve cost. It gives you an inheritable opponent's turn. This Digimon gets extra 1000 DP. Can really help you beef up Craniamon, which is why this card, gives a pretty good value when it comes to that as well. Then for some of the level 7 stuff, you guys can be playing Omnimon Zort if you want. Omnimon Zort is just great for helping you going wide. Sometimes Digivolving to level 7s is not very preferable in this deck just because you want to keep your Craniamon on board with its control aspect, but sometimes you really need to and you see the advantage and pressure that you can utilize off of it. Omnimon Zort does the trick. It also can delete things when it's attacking as well. Just a really good one general to have. Just a suggestion. Another spicier one, you guys can even be playing Jesmon GX. Jesmon GX doesn't have as great of a synergy compared to other Roar Knight decks just because you don't get to resolve as many when Digivolving effects when it comes to Jesmon GX with Craniamon. However, if you want the aggression, you want to take down your opponent's stuff, you have a lot of reboot and hurtables, you can have a really big blocker after going for the GX combo just because of that. And, that's also a pretty good approach when it comes to playing it too. Then we got some other Tamers. You guys can be playing the Memory Tamer Izzy, just to, search your top 3 cards of your deck and sort of rearrange them back at the top of any order as a different memory tamer. Overall, I feel like Tide was just a little bit better and more suitable for this deck, which is why I play that one instead. Another really cool one you can be playing if you want to gain a little bit more memory, and rather than playing the Izzy Joe, just for another 2 costs, you can play this Joe Kiddo from BT3, just again for the lower memory. At the start of your turn, if you have a Digimon with blocker, you instantly gain that memory, so it does give you that bit of value right there as well. But again, it really comes down to your own personal preference. And then moving on to some more really cool fancy options you guys can be playing. You can play this Laplace's Demon. Sorry, I can't really pronounce this as well, but for the 1 cost main, until end of your opponent's turn, one of your opponent's Digimon gains start of your main phase. This Digimon attacks. Has a really good synergy and combo when it comes to forcing your opponent's Digimon to attack. If you can play this alongside your Craniamon, you force 2 of your opponent's Digimon to attack into you, and you can block potentially 2 times if you can. Then, getting rid of the Digimon, that's how you want to control it. If you want more offensive side of things, Final Zubagon Punch is fantastic. Extra 3,000 DP if it's 16,000 or more, which your Craniamon usually would be. Reboot, blocker, security +1, and yeah, you can really go for really big plays and go for really offensive stuff just with that card there. More defensive stuff then, Congo. Congo is very similar to Breath of the Gods. Not enough room to really fit in Congo right here, but Congo is also definitely really nice just to stop your opponents from having barrage of attacks and swarming the board and trying to go wide for game. And then last but not least, just for some other removal options, if you don't want to play what we currently have for the lineup, DG Dimension, Ultimate Flare, just great standard black staples to have depending on the meta and depending on the situation and depending on your own personal preference overall. So yeah, that's it for all the other suggestions I have when it comes to the other cards that you guys can be playing. That's it for all the cards I wanted to talk about. Now let's show you guys the combos and how to play with this particular deck. Craniamon is actually very straightforward. It's a stack building deck. Once you get into your stack, you go into Boss Digimon and you just let it do all the work for you, which is a very traditional way, an easy way to learn. Overall, when it comes to mulliganing and sort of finding the card pieces that you want to be seeing in your hand is very simple. Your entire Digivolution stack from your 3 to your 4s to your 5s, and that's what you're really trying to go for and look for. Definitely Black Memory Boost and those searchings, which is pretty important because you don't have a whole lot of searching in this deck, therefore Digivolving and drawing is really the way to go. And yeah, finding pieces to build a stack is your utmost priority when it comes to it. So, of course, as always, you want to be hatching your Digi-Egg and, Digivolving into either Sunoriza or Toy Agumon is the most preferable just because they give you the inheritables, whichever value there is just always great. Gotsumon, rather, you just might want to hard play it, but if you don't see any other rookie, you just have to Digivolve it and forgo an inheritable if you have to. That's sort of how it goes. And then eventually, let's just go with Sunoriza right here. We Digivolve into Gladiamon here. And then Gladiamon is ready to go. You can sometimes just, go for an early combo with Gladiamon just for a little bit of offensive things, just to chip down your opponent's security. Push it up, Digivolve into Gladiamon. If it's still your turn, you get to swing with the jamming. And just by having that jamming, you can take away one of your opponent's security. And then don't worry, because as long as you intend to Digivolve further afterwards into your Metal Tyrannomon or your Gyromon for the follow-up play, you're basically fine. That's because if you Digivolve into Metal Tyrannomon, as long as you have a Black Tamer present on the board earlier on, then you get more value. But otherwise, I kind of like going into Gyromon just because you're going to be seeing it more often anyways, and then you can pass your opponent to 3 memory after Digivolving. And Gladiamon, Inheritable is going to give it the reboot. So, you're kind of protected for that turn being, as long as you're against a matchup that can't remove your Digimon right here on the board just like that. In the course of, playing the early stages game, this deck is a little bit slower. It does take some time to ramp up, but it doesn't take too long either. This is when you want to be playing your Taikamias, as your Tamers. Seeing them is always going to be fantastic for you just because they're going to help you set up, having that memory tamer and whatnot. And again, having this Izzy and Joe memory is going to be what you're going to be needing as you continue to build your stack. And again, like I mentioned, Black Memory Boost to continue searching and whatnot. Now, very simple. Once it goes back to your turn, you're at 3 memory and whatnot, then that's when you basically just Digivolve into your Craniamon right here for the 5 cost, passing your opponent to 2. And just like that, Craniamon can just be present on the board, and it's super strong blocker. Having these Tamers are going to be important to help you set up, especially when it comes to the Taikamias. During the opponent's turn, it's going to have 14,000 DP. If your opponent has a Digimon that's suspended, you trash their security. It has reboot, so you can go for the offensive side of things. If it ever comes back to your turn, you can chip and use it to take down opponent's security. If you have the Sunoriza, you instantly gain that security +1. So it's 2 checks every turn, reboot, blocker standing there, and then the opponent's turn gets another extra 1000 DP. So you have a 15k big body blocker on the board just because of that. And if your opponent ever tries to attack, you know, if you block with a Craniamon, you can then spend this tie commute and spend one of your own Digimon, and likely you can just unspend your own Craniamon right here so they can block again. And then at the end of opponent's turn, you force one of your opponent's Digimon to attack you. So then ideally, again, you suspend with Craniamon, you block it, and if you haven't resolved Girumon's Inheritable once per turn effect just yet, then you trash the security. Same concept and idea with Metal Tyrannomon right here as well. Take down your opponent's Digimon, then you get to trash the security there. And then very nice when it sometimes even gets there with a later game combo. If you just hard play another Tsunorizamon and you had like Craniamon and with Metal Tyrannomon underneath just like that, you basically can just like swing over one of your opponent's Digimon, you know, deal piercing, and, you know, piercing with 2 checks, and also first and foremost trash one of their security because you did delete their Digimon by battle and it's an all turns effect. Really, really nice just like that. And again, once you have your Craniamon out, that's when these are the times when you want to be playing these options and saving it for it. Craniamon will have that Digimon effect protection for the turn. So against certain matchups, Breath of the Gods is great. No returning, no bouncing, and no DP reduction against it. So then you can just play like that, and then it'll be really strong standing right there. Otherwise, when it passes you back to your 3, you can simply just play the Endless Waltz right here. And then you synergize and combo with Craniamon's last effect. When you force your opponents to attack, you block, you know, you trash, you do all those kind of combos, and you delete everything that they have as well. And most importantly, they're not affected by option cards too. So really good to play around certain matchups and decks. Knowing your matchup knowledge is going to be crucial for this particular deck. But Craniamon is just that straightforward, really easy to understand. And eventually, you know, the secondary game plan is, you know, you want to continue to build your stack right here, secondary stack and whatnot. You know, as you digivolve through your line, it can be just whatever, you know, another Gladiamon would be fantastic. And then you can digivolve, continue. And then when you see your other Craniamon right here, then you have this other one that covers deletion effects. So you have a unstoppable, unbreakable, big blockers on the board for ultimate defense with this particular deck. And that's how you want to be playing it. Very, very simple. Now wrap up for the deck profile for today. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, or questions, be sure to share it with everyone in the comments down below. Once again, be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for more BT13 content. If you guys just can't wait and want to see early deck lists and first drafts, then once again, definitely join the Avault Club. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and this is Avault signing out.